We're not expecting too many surprises there, but
Tried to be closer to the front.
Hold on. Max Verstappen came out and said, yeah, we're not winning this. And guess what? He was absolutely right. Meanwhile, McLaren just flipped the entire practice narrative upside down in a single session. Ferrari is doing that thing again where they're almost there, but not quite. And oh, the FIA changed the rules mid-weekend. Yeah, mid-weekend. So buckle up because practice day at Suzuka just gave us a lot to talk about. Verstappen, the honest champion. Let's start with the biggest story walking into this weekend. And honestly, it has nothing to do with lap times. It has everything to do with what Max Verstappen said before a single wheel had turned in anger. Before FP1 even started, Max sat in front of the media and said something that you almost never hear from a four-time world champion. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, "We have to be realistic. We are nowhere near that level anymore. I just go into the weekend and see where we end up." Now think about that for a second. This is the same guy who dominated Suzuka for years, the same guy who made this circuit look easy. And here he is being completely, brutally honest about where Red Bull actually stands. And then the sessions happened and he was P7 in FP1, nearly 8/10 off the pace, then P10 in FP2 over a second behind. Max called it before the weekend even started, and the data backed him up completely. That is not a slump. That is a team in serious trouble. Mercedes versus McLaren, the shift. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual pace battle, because this is where it gets really interesting. FP1 was basically a Mercedes demonstration. George Russell went quickest with a 131.666, and Kimi Antonelli was right behind him, just 0.026 seconds back. Like that gap is nothing. That is two drivers in the same car doing basically the same lap. McLaren were third and fourth through Norris and Piastri, but Mercedes had a clear edge in the opening session. Everything looked set for a Silver Arrow-dominated weekend. Then FP2 happened, and McLaren completely flipped the script. Oscar Piastri came out and set a 130.133 on the soft tire, over a full second faster than Russell's FP1 benchmark, and suddenly McLaren were the team to beat. Antonelli was second, Russell third, and Norris fourth, despite losing 23 minutes in the garage to a hydraulics issue. 23 minutes! His mechanics had the engine cover off, and he still came back to go fourth quickest. So what changed? Track evolution played a role, tire compounds played a role, but McLaren clearly brought something better in their setup for the longer runs. After their China disaster, where both cars failed to start the race, this was a serious statement. Ferrari. Almost, but not quite. Right, so Ferrari. Where do we even begin with Ferrari? Leclerc was P5 in FP1, Hamilton P6, respectable, solid, fine. In FP2, they slotted in at 5th and 6th again, sitting roughly 7/10 off the leading pace. Now, on paper, that sounds decent, but here's the problem. 7/10 at Suzuka in qualifying trim is not decent. That is a meaningful gap. Hamilton after FP2 was pretty direct about it. He said there was no confidence in the car, which for a driver of his experience is a significant statement. When Lewis Hamilton tells you the car doesn't feel right, you listen. Ferrari are P3 in the constructors with 67 points. Mercedes are running away with 98. The pace is closer than the championship gap suggests, but closer is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. They need to find something before Saturday because almost is not good enough at this level. 2026 energy management, the technical bit. Now this is the part where we get into the actual 2026 regulations stuff, because Suzuka is genuinely one of the most fascinating circuits for understanding how these new power units behave. So in 2026, the cars have a completely new energy recovery system. The electrical component is massive. We are talking about roughly equal split between combustion and electrical power. And at Suzuka, managing that electrical energy through the lap is incredibly complex. Through the S's in Sector 1, recovery is very limited because the car is constantly changing direction and the braking zones are short. The main harvesting happens at Spoon Corner and through the final chicane. But here's the thing, if you run out of electrical deployment on the back straight heading into 130R, you are losing serious time. This is exactly why Red Bull are struggling. Their power unit package is behind in energy deployment efficiency, and at a circuit that punishes any weakness in your energy management, the data does not lie. Verstappen, over a second back, tells the whole story.
Verstappen kicks out a journalist. All right, let's take a slight detour because this one is too good to skip. Before practice started, Verstappen walked into the media pen and immediately spotted Guardian journalist Giles Richards. Now, this goes back to the 2025 season. Richards had asked some pointed questions after the Spanish GP incident involving Russell, which ended up costing Max 9 points, and ultimately the championship to Norris by just 2 points. So Max, completely calm, looked at the room and said, "I'm not speaking before he leaves." The journalist left. Then Max turned back and said, "Now we can start." Look, whatever your opinion on that move, the man is consistent. He does not forget, and he definitely does not pretend everything is fine when it is not, on track or off it. Two more things worth talking about before we wrap this up. Fernando Alonso missed FP1 completely, not because of a technical issue, not because of a strategy call, but because he just became a father for the first time. His partner gave birth, Alonso flew back to Suzuka for FP2 and went straight out on soft tires in an outlier strategy because he had zero data from the morning. Respect, honestly. And then the FIA mid-weekend reduced the qualifying energy recovery limit from 9 megajoules down to 8. 1 megajoule sounds small until you realize these cars are deploying electrical power on literally every corner. That 1 megajoule difference could absolutely shuffle the grid tomorrow. It affects every team, but the teams already struggling with energy management, Red Bull, I'm looking at you, it hurts them the most.
Final verdict. So to bring it all together, Mercedes and McLaren are genuinely fighting for pace supremacy. Ferrari are close, but not close enough, and Verstappen is somehow the most honest person in the paddock right now. The 2026 regulations are creating a whole new technical dimension that is separating the good teams from the great ones, and the FIA rule change mid-weekend just added another variable into an already complex qualifying picture. My honest opinion? McLaren looks dangerous. That FP2 pace from Piastri was not a fluke. But here's the question I want to leave you with. Can Mercedes hold them off in qualifying? Or is Sunday already McLaren's race to lose?